Am I live? If I didn't do the little wind up, see, I'm out of practice. Am I here? Am I live? Somebody say hello. Let me see here. I'm out of practice with my streaming here. Let me pull up. Hi, Swan Lake lady. I don't know if I'm live. Let me go. Let me see if I can pull it up on the old or YouTube's. Oh, I'm live. Okay, good. Yep, just wanted to say hello to people. Oh yes, okay, there we are. Okay, we are getting it. So how are we doing? Let's see. We've got Carrie and Just Joy and Jacob and Swan Lake Lady, Lily and Mar and Dudley. Can't miss your stream. Well, thank you. And this is just a short little update to tell you about what's happening. Just Dawn, good to see you. I had a couple people emailing me and say, "Don't go, don't leave us." So thought I'd come on and just stay in practice. Obviously, see, I didn't practice well because it just kind of cut right in, right? Jay Leaguebot. So just wanted to give you an update on what's going on. I have a few topics I thought I'd talk about and not too long, and then I'll put you over into Joe of Good Logic's stream after this. I'll dump right over there. And I had a few things. We'll talk about Christmas, so I'll save the religious stuff for the end for you non-religious folks. And then, but I've been contemplating some stuff on law. And, I know a lot of people like to hear my law stuff, and I had a couple thoughts on law. And that is, one of the things is people, we get a lot of law stream people are way into this idea of following the law and what is the law and what should the law be, right? And so people zero in on that and they're like, okay, what should the law be? And was that a good objection in the jury trial, right? Well, there's a few things. These are some bigger observations that you may not get with somebody who are peddling law to you as some sort of ideal or some sort of wonderful system. And it could be, it could be good, not, perfect by any means, but law can be good when it's done correctly. Well, here's some unseen ways that law is not done correctly. Here's some unseen ways that law is subverted, and you, as a member of the public, don't even see it. And the first thing is the judges don't follow it. People, the judges, the prosecutors, just don't follow the law. So, if you have a judge and a prosecutor who don't want to follow the law, there's nothing a defense attorney can do about that. Now, you can object, you can file motions and eventually appeal. But then if your appellate courts don't write and don't reverse and support everything that's done below, the law is irrelevant. All the beautiful law that we've created is ignored. And I will say that happens way more than it should. I'd say it happens ridiculously often. You get a judge and a prosecutor who aren't following the law, and the appellate courts who don't care about the law. It's over. There is no law. All right. And so that's the first thing. Now, a defense attorney's backstop is we always have juries, right? We got a jury trial, and thank God for jury trials in our country. We do have a group of common folks who can judge and see whether guilty or not guilty. All right, but here's the problem with that, and this is sort of the other angle that I want to put on there, and that is the jury. A lot of judges and prosecutors and appellate courts like to just wash their hands and say, well, the jury decided. Everything gets funneled through the jury. The jury is the be-all, end-all. So a prosecutor can file charges that are supported by the flimsiest of evidence, right? But they file charges and say, well, let the jury decide. We'll just let the jury decide. And then there's no refining of the cases you're doing. People just throw it against the wall. And then the judges, they don't want to step in and, make a decision. because that would be terrible, right? And then so they just say, well, let's just have a jury decide. And then the jury says, well, the person's at trial here, and it's a pretty serious charge, and they brought we're here, right? I mean, obviously something serious. They must know something we don't. So we better convict. Or there's the whole calculus. Well, he could have done it. So, and if he did it and we let him go, he could go running off in the streets and commit more crimes. Better to be safe than sorry. So let's just go ahead and find him guilty. And then the appellate court say, well, the jury found him guilty. Well, that's it. It's the jury is the ultimate truth finder. So the truth is determined by whatever the jury decides, right? And so you just get this steamroller of bias and people not following the law. Now let's talk. I'm teaching a criminal procedure class, and I have one last class. It's tomorrow night is my last class, and then my students take the final exam. Over at American Law Courses, I've been teaching criminal procedure. And it's always fun to teach something because you get to know it in a way that you just never know when you just study, when you just learn it, right? So you really get to learn things in an in-depth, methodical way. And so I enjoyed teaching it. It was a lot of work, but having to go through the criminal procedures in Florida front to back from an expert perspective, but re-looking at it and rereading it is kind of an interesting exercise that I've been doing. But as I was thinking about it, okay, so we've got this jury idea that, okay, everything gets the jury and the jury decides, and then the jury is sacrosanct and all that, right? It's like, well, what room is there for procedure? And then there's this whole thing, and you've probably heard me say it before, that people say, well, he got off on a technicality. I will tell you that in my experience, I can't even think of a case where somebody got off on a technicality. Now, I can think of endless cases where people get convicted on a technicality. Technically, they're guilty, right? But it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like an injustice. It's a miscarriage of justice. I remember I had a case where a lady, she had a boyfriend who's sleeping in her house, and she is this guy, and he was outside smoking weed. All right. She's asleep in her bed. The cops see the guy smoking the weed, come into the house. It's her house. She's 68-year-old lady, no prior record. Come into her house. She's asleep in her bed. Come into her bedroom and sees some drugs that were on top of her bureau based on the smell of marijuana, right? And they convict my client, who was asleep on the bed, of possession of the drugs. Now, what is the obvious result here? The obvious is that it's the guy's drugs, and he put them there while she was asleep, right? I mean, that's the obvious. But of course, well, we wouldn't want anybody to get away with something on technicality, but that's a reasonable hypothesis of innocence. But a reasonable hypothesis of innocence has been thrown out by the Florida Supreme Court. We no longer follow that rule in Florida. And that rule protects the innocence. By a case, you want to look up this case called Bush. It overruled a case called State v. Law, which is over 100 years of law talking about if there's a reasonable hypothesis of innocence that fits the fact pattern, and it's a circumstantial case, it's the circumstantial evidence rule, then it must be thrown out. Well, then you're letting somebody off on a technicality. You would think it would be a legal search, but if nobody's enforcing the law, then it's nothing. The law is useless. And I would suggest to you that procedural dismissals and procedure, all of that is effectuating the Constitution, effectuating the concepts of innocent unless proven guilty beyond and the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. It's effectuating. There's a factual side that is up to the jury. There's a legal side that our courts have a responsibility to protect individual liberty, and that they are abdicating in every case. I will tell you, I am really upset because you just see it over and over, the injustices that are occurred because nobody wants to make a decision. The judges and the prosecutors, everybody we want to get in maximum things. Well, the Constitution means something. And, in order for the Constitution to be effectuated, that means some judge somewhere is going to have to grant some defense attorney motion sometime. Do your job. But, oh, we don't want to do that. We got to protect our hoity-toity jobs because we're a judge. We might get in trouble. Somebody might be upset. The prosecutors might be upset with me, right? I might get in trouble because I'm some bleeding heart liberal judge that let defendants off, right? Well, how about protecting the Constitution on behalf of our individuals? Because that's the only way it gets done. Otherwise, everything gets funneled over the jury. And the only protection that the citizen has is the jury. But you get to that point, you are losing, losing, losing. Procedure, every procedural motion is a technicality, but the Constitution itself is a technicality. Then the constitutional rights that we have been eroded by judges wanting to make exceptions, wanting to carve it out over and over again. Our courts are not enforcing doing their jobs, not enforcing the law. So I'm just reporting the news from the person. I've seen this for many years now. And now people are seeing it in action across the country. I'm quite upset because procedures require action. So if something is illegally seized, if somebody is illegally arrested, there has to be a consequence. Yeah, in fact, well, Shane says, have you seen any jury instructions lately? Yeah, I just have a point about there's a well, and you get these jury instruction committees that are filled with prosecutors that, they hate the reasonable doubt standard. They don't like beyond a reasonable doubt. And so they make the instruction so confusing. We had a stream on that a while back, right? So they water down the reasonable doubt instruction so that it's so confusing nobody understands it. So that's one of the protections. Oh, we got prosecutors, so we're going to make this instruction so confusing. It's absurd. And then, of course, like the instructions are very contradictory. There's a lot of problems with instructions, but they don't want defense attorneys on there because they might make them more coherent. All right. So I wanted to just make that point. There's more than just factual guilt. There's also constitutional protection. I have a chart that I've done on speedy trial, and I've done a chart on the Miranda. There are so many exceptions to Miranda, right to remain silent, that it basically eviscerates the right. We have no right to remain silent. The only way to actually have that right is to actually remain silent in perpetuity and actually demand a lawyer and not actually say anything. There is no suppression based on failure of Miranda. Miranda is a joke. And so is speedy trial. So is speedy trial. Okay, and I'm going to give you a little peek. Do you want to see I'm going to give you a peek. Okay, I'll share screen. Let me find it here. I'm going to show you what a joke Florida speedy trial rule is. People think, oh, well, speedy trial. I taught this in my class. Okay, yes, let's look at this. I'm going to share this with you guys. Just don't tell anybody. All right, I'm sharing this. This was in my class. You can learn all about it. We did a whole class on speedy trial. Can you see this? Look at this. This is a joke. That's the speedy trial rule charted out in Florida. I had a student do that. Look at this thing. Okay, so here we go. Look at all the garbage here. All this procedure, all these questions, all these hoops you have to jump through in order for anything to actually happen. Speedy trial is only good for forcing a trial. Getting a case dismissed for speedy trial, impossible. Once in a blue moon, it happens. And yet, the Florida Supreme Court wants to get up there and say, oh, this is so, all these defendants getting away with murder by the speedy trial rule. Yeah, and the cops know how to search anybody, probable cause. They create probable cause out of thin air because they figured out what the words to say, how to get into your pockets, how to get into your car, how to get into your house by lying, imagining things. Well, you look suspicious. Well, he was too calm for the situation. No, he was getting excited. He was nervous. He was not nervous, right? He made a furtive movement. No matter what it is, it's wrong. Whatever you're doing is wrong. And so if a cop can defeat your rights to say, I don't want you to search me. I don't want you in my house. I don't want you in my car. I don't want you. If they can defeat that just by coming up with any reason at all, then it doesn't exist. We don't have a constitution. All right. Just making the point All right, let's see. Another couple, and this is going to be a short stream, and I'm going to dump you over to Joe Good Logic because he's covering current events. I have been completely disconnected for many moons. This is 2 weeks since my last stream, and I must say, I'm enjoying it. I hate to report it to you. Yes, I'm very happy. Okay, so we've got the expert in here, and Just Dawn has the expert. So I got to say, I'm enjoying it a little too much. So, but I wanted to come on and say hello to some nice people. You got Danielle and the expert in my chain and the fellows here. Oh, and look, the uncovered lamp. Yeah, well, you got to make sure your prosecutors respect rights and aren't just about getting them guilty people, voting them away, you know? So I've been really enjoying my isolation and my disconnectedness. And actually, I said to Joe, Good Logic, who you'll be dumped into in a second, that I was actually observed Sabbath. Now, doing the research, I'd say I probably didn't, but the Jewish Sabbath, they disconnect, they don't drive. And so on last Sunday, I didn't drive. I didn't turn on any electronic devices. I just read some books. Want to see what I've been reading? Here, so I read this set of books. This is called Brandon Sanderson, The Mistborn Trilogy. So I read these three. And then I read, I'm reading, I should say, this book called The Earthsea, Books of the Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. I'm about halfway through. I read the first 4 or 5 books it is. This is all of the books. She's starting to get a little too feminist for me, but I remember this from my childhood. I don't remember the books now, but it's very well written, and it's kind of inspiring me to maybe write some of my fantasy novels. So I'm reading that one too. And the next book I'm going to read is going to be C.S. Lewis's science fiction trilogy. So I'm going to let Joe of Good Logic comment on the Colorado Supreme Court thing. And I just think the courts are so out of control. We have lost it. And I'm enjoying my isolation. Believe me, I'm hiding into a hole. But let's talk about, and the media. Like, one of the things by this isolation, when I come back and I look at stuff, I look at how much of this stuff that's being put out there is garbage. How much media is garbage. There's nothing in there. Really, you got to be careful. Don't just watch stuff. I mean, there's so much BS out there. And and the media just want all this negativity. They want to focus on like drama and negativity. Like, if I made this like Ghazni finally has it out with whoever the streamer is, right? You probably get a lot more clicks, right? And so, but I don't want that. I want happiness in my life. I want positivity. I don't want drama. And what was I going to say? Oh, so for example, the weather. We just had a weather prediction. I had a very left-wing, I should say, progressive lady in our office who was telling me, her daughter's coming and the wind is going to be so strong and the weather is going to be terrible and we got to shut everything down, and she's afraid, she's telling her to stay at home and all this, and all because the media was pushing this huge storm's going to come on, it's going to blow, and it's going to do all this stuff. And I told her, I said, I don't believe them. I don't believe them for a minute. And I said, I'm not doing anything. And it was ridiculous. I mean, Danielle's, I think she's in the chat. Danielle is like, it was nutty. It was like a thunderstorm. It was a rain, right? It was ridiculous. And so it's like, but they get already all hyped up and like, you got to panic about this and everything's a panic. Really send a filter. Is this really important? Is this really something that has some kind of long-term consequence? People want to know about my Silver Surfer. So I did get my Silver Surfer back. It's an 8.5. So that's pretty cool. Oh, and what else? Weather predictions. What I was reading, enjoying isolation. Oh, okay. And then Florida Book Fair. Yeah, so I'm going to go to the Florida Book Fair. There's a few more things. So we're just going to be a short little stream. Just wanted to say hello and tell everybody I'm not dead yet. But I'm enjoying my time off tremendously. I don't want to shut it down completely because I still want to retain the option of having my channel and saying something like when I have something to say like today, then I can come on and tell y'all, oh, Jacob Castro, you got the books. Thank you. Everybody get your books. Everybody get your Brucey books. All my Brucey books. I think everybody should have them now. Brucey books. I will tell you that I am out of my own pocket. Slidey Pie. Thank you for the nice email, Slidey Pie. Oh, and Danielle sent me a nice present. Yeah, just a little rain, right? But Brucey is there. I'm self-funding a soft cover coloring book version of Brucey. I'm just going to put out a few of these. And in fact, I'm thinking I might, if you want to get any Gosney books, you might want to get them, because I'm not certain I'm going to reorder any of them. I'm not certain what I'm going to do. I'm still deciding. But all these books, I've still got piles of them here. But once they're gone, they might be gone. I don't know. I'm still considering what I want to do. I know Summer Friend won't be reordered. I'm not sure what's going on. I do like Brucey, and I would like to say, oh, I will put a plug in. I would like to do My Difficult Dog for next Christmas, but that takes a good give, send, go. You have 2 Bruceys, Jay Ligbot. Thank you. Yeah, Merry Christmas. So softcover Brucey Jackson, which is the My Difficult Dog. I'll show you where I'll show you where you can get that. All right, or if you want to help out with you want to help out with My Difficult Dog. I should be a little better with this. I'm not really that great, but I'll share screen. So if you go over here, can you see that? And then you go over to Friends and see there, that's My Difficult Dog right there. Okay. And here's the Give, Send, Go campaign. Make my children's book, My Difficult Dog, a reality. I'm targeting this for next Christmas. So need to be fully funded middle of next year. But if you want to help out there, I already have $50 there. So that's nice. Somebody gave $50. So if not, just give me a prayer. There's a prayer request. It's Give, Send, Go. It's not the other one. Let's see. What else? Florida Book Fair. So I will be at because the book sale thing, this streaming thing, I'm not sure this is the best way to sell books. So I'm going to have to reconsider how I'm selling books and what I want to do. Still reconsidering. I'm just enjoying my time off. And part of the isolation too helps me recharge my energy so that I can write. Okay, let's talk about Christmas and Advent, because I have my New American Bible here. See, look at that, well worn. This is my old book, but it's well worn. You don't need a new one, right? I don't need a happy, fresh one. There's a couple chapters I want to read. First one is for Advent. And you can get out your Bible too. Now, every once in a while, even us Catholics occasionally read the Bible. This is a New American Bible called the NAB right there. And this is our, go to Luke 3, chapter 15, or verse 15, chapter 3, verse 15. Did I get that right? Okay. Yeah. And so this is our little Advent. This is our little Advent note to you for Advent. Now, what is Advent? Advent is the expectation of God coming again, the second coming, or us meeting Jesus again, maybe at the end of our life. Hopefully, it's a hope that Jesus is coming, and it's before Christmas, because Christmas, Jesus is coming, right? He's coming to the manger. So Advent is kind of combines these ideas to think about your life and how you're living your life. And are you applying God in your life in a way that makes it so that you're ready to meet your maker? And John the Baptist in Luke 3:15 says, "Now the people were filled with expectation, and all were asking in their hearts whether John might be the Messiah. And John answered them, saying, I'm baptizing you with water, but one mightier than I is coming, and I am not worthy to loosen the thongs of his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. His winnowing fan is in his hand to clear the threshing floor and gather the wheat into his barn, but the chaff he will burn with the unquenchable fire." So that's when the wheat and the chaff are sorted, right? When Jesus comes and visits us, right? So that's the Advent, really one of the Advent stories. Now, I also want to talk to you about Luke 2. And this was, and it was funny because I pulled this up. We always watch, yeah, here's the New American Bible, Holly. And this is Luke 2, verse 8 through 14. And of course, everybody knows this. And I wanted to look it up in the New American Bible because everybody knows this, because Linus tells you that this is probably the greatest, one of the greatest television specials of all time, the Charlie Brown Christmas special. And I love watching the Charlie Brown Christmas every time it gets me. And Linus says, hit the light. So I'm going to read it to you from the New American Bible, which is the latest Catholic reading. I think Linus's version is quite poetic, and it's probably King James, because King James was very poetic, but this is the best translation that we have. So let's read the same statement. So when Charlie Brown says, well, what does Christmas really mean? Well, here's the same reading done from the New American Bible. Now there were shepherds in the region, living in the fields and keeping the night watch over their flock. The angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were struck with great fear. The angel said to them, do not be afraid, for behold, I proclaim to you good news of great joy that will be for all the people. For today, in the city of David, a Savior has been born for you, who is Messiah and Lord. And this will be a sign for you. You will find an infant wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. And suddenly there was a multitude of the heavenly host with the angel, praising God and saying, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests. So great Linus Peanuts, Charles Schultz, wonderful. Let's remember that as we get in Advent and the Christmas season, what Christmas really is about. Keep Christ in Christmas. And thanks all for showing up, and good to see you all. And catch you around. I don't know. We'll see. I'll try to do another one sometime. I'm enjoying my time off so much but I don't want to lose my channel. So thanks for showing up and saying hello. All right. God bless you. Good night.